Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Leadership Void podcast. I'm Enrique with my co host Vince to bring you the best in our veteran, military spouse, and first responder community. And Vince will introduce today's guest.
Yes, Enrique, I am so excited to culminate this month of March with Bryan Stewart. He is the founder and CEO of HDO Health from the greater Birmingham, Alabama area. Bryan, tell us about your journey. Tell us about you.
Awesome. Well, good to be here. Thanks for having me on your show. Again, my name is Bryan Stewart. I'm here in the Birmingham area. I am a former Marine Corps veteran. Spent almost 7 years in the Marine Corps as an infantry officer. Loved all of my time in service. Since then, my transition, I've been in the healthcare industry for 20 plus years, I'll say. Don't want to say exactly how long, but a long time. You see the gray hair on my head here. In a variety of segments, medical devices, diagnostics, wound care, laboratory medicine, and then spent a couple of years in behavioral health, which was awesome. And then for the last 3 years or so, have been on this entrepreneurial journey where I was fortunate enough and blessed enough to found HDO Health with some great co-founders. And we are working to help save lives, as you see on the screen, with a product that can help warfighters prevent people from bleeding to death from traumatic wounds. So other key details, been married going on 30 years. We'll celebrate my 30-year anniversary with my beautiful wife, Erin, this coming June. So praise the Lord for that. And then I have 2 adult kids who both live here in the Birmingham area as well. So that's enough about me, I am sure, for your listeners. So.
Well, we thank you for that. Thank you for your service and congratulations on that marriage milestone. Seldom seen nowadays. So that's a
Absolutely.
great milestone to be celebrating. I love the fact that you served and then you're going into this entrepreneur route after so long in healthcare, providing a solution. And we all know that bleeding out is a problem. And so tell us about HDO and your device.
Yeah, it all started. I went to Ohio State University, so I'm a proud Buckeye, and this is a technology that I've licensed from Ohio State. Very briefly, I have 3 co-founders. One, Tanya, who is a PhD professor at Ohio State in biomechanical engineering. Our other co-founder is a physician, emergency room and critical care doc, who is also a SWAT medic. And then our 4th co-founder is a career law enforcement professional, the primary tactical medicine or SWAT doc for the Ohio State Highway Patrol. So the doctor and the highway patrolman actually came up with the idea for the device. They do a lot of tactical medicine training, have used all the other devices that are on the market, and we're lamenting like, hey, there's got to be a better solution for this problem. The problem being uncontrolled bleeding from like the junctional areas. Think like where your leg meets the hip or where the arm meets the shoulder, where a regular extremity tourniquet isn't sufficient to stop the bleeding. So they literally came up with the idea for the device one night over, I don't think it was pizza and beer, but I think it was steaks and bourbon. And then the doc was actually doing a critical care fellowship at the time at Ohio State, and he submitted the idea for a capstone engineering project, and that's where it intersected with the professor. And the reason I'm sharing all this with your listeners is this is a great opportunity for potential entrepreneurs to connect with a lot of academic centers who have great product ideas, intellectual property. And in my case, I connected with Ohio State wanting to be a mentor to help other business leaders or entrepreneurs based on my own background in sales and marketing and operations. And it very rapidly pivoted to, hey, have you ever thought about becoming an entrepreneur? We've got all these technologies we're looking for people to commercialize. So the takeaway point for your listeners is if you're a veteran or a spouse or anyone listening, check out all these intellectual property transfer offices at all the major universities for some great technologies that are just looking for a home and looking for someone to bring them to the market. So that's kind of the genesis story of HDO Health. And then in terms of what we're producing, you see it's the HDO Health Journey-Kit. Where we're at, we have a final prototype of our product, and we are working very diligently to get our FDA submission completed and hopefully get the device cleared and then on the market sometime this year in 2024.
Well, kudos to you, Bryan, and your team. So obviously what I'm hearing is also surround yourself with smarter people in the room, right? Because they definitely will help, accelerate any idea, any opportunity. But thank you for sharing that with our audience today. Now, giving back to the community and or entrepreneurship lessons learned or challenges, share with us any of those you would like to with our audience today. Thank you.
Yeah, as a veteran, one of my passions is I like to say serving others who've served. if I can be the person for someone transitioning out of the military that I never had, I got out quite a bit of time ago. I would say certainly before platforms like this existed or other veteran programs like Veterati. A huge shout out to Veterati. If anyone listening is a Veterati mentor or mentee, I've been a Veterati mentor for 6-7 years now. So one of the primary ways I do that is through mentoring on the Veterati platform. Also engaged in a couple other platforms, probably too many, but I'm passionate about this. So I also mentor with MedTech vets. If anyone listening is interested in getting into a healthcare career, life sciences, medical device, pharmaceuticals, you name it, MedTech vets is specifically designed for veterans and spouses looking for those kinds of careers. So I also serve as a mentor in that program, helping to share my network and knowledge in that realm. I've also been a mentor. I am currently a mentor with the Honor Foundation, another great veteran service organization specifically focused on helping special forces operations veterans transition. Had some amazing mentees in that program. And I can say I learned as much or more as a mentor than I'm sure any mentee has ever gotten from me. So I did a few other programs, one called Ardent, which is more of a faith-based mentoring program that I do regular mentoring with. And then last but not least, I also do mentoring with American corporate partners. So a lot of ways to say, I like to say I pay it back and pay it forward by mentoring and offering insights and advice. And I really try to center my feedback on hard lessons that I've learned, all my battle scars and dumb mistakes that I've made to help someone prevent from making those same mistakes in their life or career journey. Even more specifically, men, I think, who wrestle with a unique set of skill sets or problems as men, particularly transitioning from the military. So really try to focus on not only how to help them find their next career, optimize their resume, their LinkedIn profile, but really think about what's important to them, what do they want to be like, what they want their life to look like in this next chapter or season, and really how to transition not only to a new job, but emotionally, mentally, spiritually to a new place after maybe serving in the military, whether it's 2 years or 30 years. I think as you all relate, you go through similar issues of what's my identity now that I'm no longer in uniform. So that's really my area of passion and where I do the most work.
And it's so commendable when you see someone that has so much experience, just dip it back into the community so that they can thrive, they can become better. So thank you for being a mentor through all those variety of platforms. But it's needed, and so we really appreciate that. So as we're talking company and what drives you, what's on the horizon for HDO?
Yeah, what's pending for us is we have submitted a response for an SBIR. For your listeners not familiar with that, so Small Business Innovation and Research Grant, basically non-dilutive funding from the government. We received what's called a solicitation from the Defense Health Agency, which is the umbrella organization over all the healthcare in the Department of Defense. And they were looking for specific companies to submit ideas for junctional tourniquets. So, Lord willing, we were a straight shot to the center of the bullseye for this solicitation. So we submitted that back in January. We're hoping to hear literally any day about being awarded what's called a phase 1 solicitation award, which would be $250,000. And then that would be followed on by, we hope, a pretty quick phase 3, which is up to 1.3 million. And really the end goal is to have that be our foot in the door to getting our product, the HDO Health Tourniquet, into the hands of warfighters across the DoD and really in any 3-letter government agency that needs this capability. So that's really what we're working on right now, and sort of waiting on getting final word that we have been awarded that, hopefully. So
it will be awarded, my man. I'm going to put it out into the universe.
Let's hope so. Yeah. As as a good entrepreneur, we are planning, plan for the worst and hope for the best. We are believing we're a straight shot for that, but we're also simultaneously working on venture capital and family office investors as well. So if anyone listening has a passion for healthcare and veteran-owned entrepreneurial businesses, we'd love to have a conversation, as we would like to have some additional options in addition to the SBIR funding as well, if that doesn't come through for some reason.
Absolutely. Do not have all eggs in one basket is basically what I hear
Absolutely,
Bryan saying.
Yeah, not a good formula. So
Roger that. So let's transition, Bryan. Let's talk a little bit about leadership. What do you do currently to sharpen your skill sets, aid you to thrive in your professional life?
A lot. This is my, other than mentoring, this is kind of my second area of passion. So do a lot of reading. I mean, I pretty, consume a lot of books, blogs, listen to podcasts like the one you guys do, which is awesome. I think anytime I can learn something from someone else is a great opportunity. So that's the easy one. I think the other thing I am fortunate to be is part of a team at Victory Strategies. That's a leadership development, leadership coaching, strategy. And then we have some individuals that do a lot of keynote speeches. So the old adage, iron sharpens iron, just being part of that team helps me be sharper as a leader. It's some great individuals, very humble, very successful leaders on the team. Also, I do a fair amount of writing, whether it's a LinkedIn article or working on a book, things like that, I think helps keep the mind sharp and helps you try to express what you've learned. And then I think the other thing is just staying connected with other individuals, whether it's meeting someone for coffee or for lunch or having a conversation, just being, I like to say, being a humble student and always being on the look for what can I learn from this person that can help me in my leadership and life walk. I think is just the long takeaway of all that is just be a lifelong learner and be a humble student, I think are key.
Key indeed. And we were just talking about Jacob and Victory Strategies before the show. Great
Awesome.
group to be part of, and definitely a lot of sharp swords in that group.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah,
Yeah.
keep them close. Now,
Yeah.
as you were developing, you mentioned your almost 10 years in the military, your more than decades in sales and marketing, and now going into entrepreneurship. That's a lot of time to receive a lot of great advice. So what advice did you receive that you would like to pass on to an emerging leader today?
If I could just share one nugget, it would be humble enough to find a mentor, or if you're able, engage and pay for a professional coach. Um, I think the dividends from that kind of investment in yourself are exponential. So that would be my one biggest piece of advice: is don't go it alone. You certainly do your own self study and reading, but find someone who's got the battle scars that they are willing to share to help you avoid some landmines and pitfalls. And probably also secondarily, just someone that can just be transparent and honest with you. Ask you really, really good questions, hear your heart, hear what you want to do, but then challenge what you're thinking, how you're thinking, and then what your plans are to achieve your goals, I think is the most important thing.
Those are key there, my man. Very powerful. Having that courage to be vulnerable, right? It's so key
Yeah.
to know that you need help or assistance to get to the next level, because growth
Yeah,
happens in the uncomfort zone. Love everything you
absolutely.
shared about that. Thank you. How about
Yeah.
this trajectory you've had in the military and the healthcare arena and entrepreneurship? How about a memorable leadership aha moment you'd like to share with our audience?
Yeah, I might have two, and both are kind of like things that I wish, like, ooh, did I really do that? One, and this is something that often doesn't get discussed, it's related to nonverbal communication. A big aha moment for me was finally, I don't say realize it because I probably knew that I did it. And honestly, my wife told me all the time this was an issue I had, but it was quite simply my nonverbals did not match what I was either thinking or saying, to my detriment. Meaning, could be the example would be maybe being in a conference room in a meeting with colleagues or even my boss or whatever, and me thinking in my mind that I am, leaning in and smiling and nodding my head in agreement. But what my nonverbals were actually was like a scowl and like, who put you in charge? And oh my gosh, I just want to come across this table and choke you out right now. As you can imagine, that's not a good thing. So it took me a while to really make that connection and then really understand, okay, why am I doing that? And then become more self-aware. I'm obviously not a psychologist, but almost like zooming out of yourself and being able to observe the situation. So I would say anyone that wrestles with, incongruence with their nonverbal and verbal communication, what worked for me was, number one, I did a lot of reading about nonverbal communication, positive nonverbal communication. And then I engaged close colleagues that would give me signals, if it was a touch of the nose or a pull of the ear when I was doing whatever that thing was, when my nonverbals were incongruent with my verbal or what I was hoping to project, they would let me know. If anyone's ever done Toastmasters, it's kind of like when they ring the bell or the buzzer when you use a crutch word. it helps kind of rewire the synapses in your brain and go, okay, I don't want to do that. So that's one aha moment for me. The second one, and this is very broad, was just figuring out that it has never been about me. It is not about me, and it's never going to be about me. As much as, we all like to, talk about things on podcasts like this, and we have this wisdom, but it's like ultimately, it's not about me. It's about someone else, and that's who really I'm here to serve. So that's kind of what my other leadership moment was getting rid of the ego, really focus on trying to be truly have a humble approach to life and leadership. That was another aha moment. I'm sure a lot of folks in the military, particularly, they've been very, very successful, or in civilian life. Sometimes you can get wrapped up in your own BS, if you will, and forget that, you're just like everybody else. And despite what your LinkedIn profile may say, you've got skeletons in your closet, you've got problems at home, you've got problems in your family, just like every other human being ever created. So that was the other aha moment for me.
Great aha moments indeed. And I was almost going to steal third when you was going like this to my
Yeah.
baseball signs there, but
Yeah.
that's true.
Yeah.
You need somebody to be able to say, "Hey, I see this out of you. You're displaying this, and I'm one that shows everything right in my face. So,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
so I know what that feels like, and the struggles there. Um, you talk about entrepreneurship. You have this company. I know that there are some times where challenges come, and as an entrepreneur, both Vince and I understand that those are almost constant. But
Yeah.
what kind of strategies do you use when those times of difficult moments or change come?
It's a great question. I think a few strategies we've employed. One that I've used for quite a long time, we still use, is we have a team call every other week, because we're all sort of doing lots of different things. And we have at the top of our agenda for every meeting is a moment of gratitude. So this sort of leads to, the kind of culture you want to build that helps dampen when you do have conflicts or issues. So before we start talking about what's on our business agenda, we just take a few seconds, literally, each to say, well, what are you thankful for today? And it does a couple things. One, it builds relationship where someone may talk about something, you're like, oh, well, I didn't know you were into skateboarding, or maybe there's an issue. Well, I'm grateful that my dad is in remission from his melanoma. Oh, I didn't know your father was sick. It's those little small moments that helps build connection. It also, I think, helps keep you focused on the main thing. Like you can get wrapped around, okay, where are we at with the project, or where are we at with revenue, or legal filing, or whatever. Keeping you centered on the true north, like what's most important, the relationships, the mission and vision of the company, and the details will sort of take care of themselves. That's one thing. And then I think for me as a founder, one of the things we talked about early on, I did not know my three co-founders I mentioned, Nadi, Dr. McElroy, or Tanya. We met for the first time at Ohio State at a medical simulation lab with the device. So we had to figure out, okay, who are these people? I was the outsider. The three of them had been working on the project. So my point is we were deliberate in talking about, as a group of co-founders, how are we going to handle it? Not if we disagree, but when we disagree. So setting some ground rules up front in our relationship and in the culture of our company, like, okay, what are we going to do if we have an issue? And then I think from a practical point of view, there's the governance aspect of companies. We do have an amazing advisory board that helps sort of weigh in on issues and provide inputs and guidance. And then I think it's important to have a fiduciary board. In this case, we have a 3-member board where if there's a key issue, you don't have an even number of people. And our fiduciary, our third member, is truly independent. So he essentially serves as a tiebreaker if there's a conflict in the leadership of the company. So there's a couple practical things, I think, culture of gratitude, and then really talking about the details up front, and then being, eyes wide open about a governance structure. I think are 3 key things you can do that we've engaged in our company.
Definitely a secret sauce to success, especially having those strategies. Love everything you're doing, Bryan. The fact that you're a servant and humble leader, speaks volumes of who you are as an individual. And you spoke about those non-verbs. So that is 75 to 9% of a message, right? So I'm glad you got the signs worked out with your coach on third, right? So
Yeah.
phenomenal stuff here. Thanks that our audience is definitely going to benefit from this episode. So folks listening in, how do they get a hold of you, Bryan, or HDO Health?
Yeah, they can reach me at B Stewart, Stewart, at HDOhealth.com. I'm easy to find on LinkedIn, Bryan J. Stewart on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn a lot. Those are probably the two best ways to find me, for sure.
All right, folks, we will have that as part of the show notes and video for you to be able to get a hold of Bryan and HDO. A lot of great work coming out of that, and we're hoping to see not only the financial thing come through, but also the launch of your device here in the coming year. Now, folks, if you want to get a hold of us at the Leadership Void Podcast, the Leadership Void at gmail.com is where you'll send that correspondence. If you'd like to see a featured guest or a leadership topic, let us know by those means.
Absolutely. Again, Bryan, you've been phenomenal. All this is going to do is amplify your voice for the world to get to know you and everything you share. So that's going to be put out in the universe, my Bryan.
Appreciate it so much. Thank you guys for what you guys do with this podcast too. So
absolutely. And we also got to thank our sponsors, Nickel, A Hero for the Kids, and FAVOB. So thank you for them being our sponsor of our show.
awesome.
Bryan, it's all about you and HDO. Have a great day and many blessings.
Take care. Thank you.